Hi guys, this is Chris Kovach, a Regional Solutions Consultant in Northeastern Florida for Tobii Dynavox. Today I'm going to show you a brief video about a new program that's being launched called Look to Read. This program was created by Smartbox, which Tobii Dynavox is currently in the process of purchasing and merging in with the Tobii Dynavox family. I was really excited when this came out because I get asked pretty frequently, how do I implement? How can I help my child or my students to better comprehend reading functions and sound blending and do that in a way that is creative and engaging? Well, Look to Read really hits the mark on most of those situations. So I am going to just jump right in and get Look to Read up and running and just show you some of the things that this has to offer. One of the huge benefits is that you can try to get this software through your medical insurance when we're trying to justify a device for a student. So this would allow us to also potentially try and justify this program if we can prove medically why this would be needed. So learning for educational purposes, for greater independence, and just general knowledge on being able to read and write. So one thing is that this is capable of working with any access method. If I jump into my settings, you'll see that I can have eye gaze, touch, switch, to switch, and this instant versus dwell reading speed. You'll see what that means here once we jump into one of the books, but quick overview is when they see the words on the page, as soon as they click on it, it's an instant feedback. It starts reading that language for them. Dwell would allow you to put a speed rating on that. So they have to hold or dwell on that particular word to make a conscious decision so that they're not just maybe haphazardly kind of scrolling around the page and activating the words. For our purposes, I'm going to leave this on instant. We also have a high contrast function. So for our visually impaired clients, we can flip this on and give them another option to hopefully make it easier to see, but still be able to participate. So I'm going to leave this on touch, and actually I'm gonna false my gaze so you guys can see what this would be like for a client with eye gaze. So if we start, you will see that there are 4 stages in the Look to Read software. They increase in complexity in both the words that are used, the sentence structure, the format, and the composition of the stories. So anyone can go out and download the free version of this software. They will just be limited to the first story in stage 1 called Fat Bat. So we're going to work through Fat Bat today just to show you guys what you can kind of expect within this program. So our character throughout the entire series is a young boy named Pip. And Pip goes on all these little journeys and adventures, and it's really kind of engaging, and you get to see him act throughout all these books, and you have that one main character that you get to work with, which is pretty cool. So we're going to start with Fat Bat. And we can either jump right into reading the books, we can check out some of the activities, or maybe address the activities after we've read the book, or we could chat about the book itself. So if we wanted to chat about the book, we may come in and see that we have a story about Pip, and we like Pip.
Like.
So we can just kind of start off with getting excited about this one, and we're going to talk about a
bat.
But he's a fat bat.
Fat bat.
Right, and he eats a lot of jam.
Jam. Eat.
Right. So it gives you some examples of utilizing some of those chat features to communicate specifically about this book without you having to program something into speech software. We can kind of get that more immediate feedback. Some of the activities we'll address after we read the book, but we're going to jump right in here and we're going to read the book Fat Bat. So you'll notice that excuse me, the page is very clean. We're trying to pull the client or the patient to the word on the page, and there you go. That's what I was waiting for. If they don't seem to be attending to that word, you'll notice that it gives you a little bit of a shake or a little bit of a wiggle as we let that word sit on the page. There it goes again. So hopefully that's going to draw the attention
Pip.
back And then as I highlight it, it reads the word Pip for me. Now we can get into this. And now we continue with our reading progression. So as you can see, all of these words are pretty short. It's a pretty basic message. And that's what we would expect from someone who is just getting started reading books. And then as we grow through the levels, they're going to get more and more complex.
Pip met a
And as you can see, we're working across the screen from left to right, just as we would normally read, one word at a time.
bat. It had a hat.
So pretty engaging back and forth. And there are about 7 or 8 different pages within this particular book. We're not going to read through the whole story. You can download the free version, but you kind of get the idea of how this progresses. And this is really nice because it can be done on a touch device. You can set it up for switches, set it up for eye gaze, set it up for really any access method, which is allowing those students to potentially read the same stories, engage with their classmates, talk about those stories together, which I think is just really cool. Plus the fact that the drawings and the stories, they're fun, and you kind of just want to see what happens to Pip as you go through these stories. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to play around a little bit in this drop down where I can go to the next page. We can jump into a quick chat. So maybe we wanted to talk about activities throughout the story, just as we would do with a normally developing child. We would say, oh, that's crazy. He was eating, well, and we didn't get to this yet, but he's eating all of that jam. And if you eat too much jam, you might become a fat bat.
Fat bat.
And that's, oh no.
Oh no.
Right. So you can kind of see how this all plays together, and it's just a very clean layout for reading these stories. I'm going to exit at this point and show you some of the additional activities. So maybe once we've completed that book and we want to work on some of those activities, depending on what you're doing with your particular students, some of these may apply, all of them may apply. But here we're going to start off with maybe story sounds. So what were the sounds we heard in that story? Here are going to be the letters and the sounds that we heard. So
a, d,
so you're actually getting the sound of the letter, not just A, B, C, D. You're having someone actually give you a real recording of what that letter sound is, which is something I get asked for quite a bit when I'm working in the schools or when I'm working with families. And this is great because it's dialed into the letters that were specific within the book that you just read. So this is a great little practice tool. Now we can jump from there into listen and spell. So how do we put these things together? Well, the first word, let's
Pip.
do Pip.
Bat. Jam.
So we're going to start off with Pip.
Pip.
You're going to get a lot of repetition every time we highlight. You're going to hear those words and those letter sounds coming together. We're going to relate the picture of Pip to the word of Pip.
Pip.
Now you're going to go through each letter.
I. Pip.
And what it sounds, the same way we would do it in a normal developing book.
I.
But we're still looking at that picture, so we're still putting it all together, that this little guy over here, his name's Pip.
I. Pip.
And for some students, that would be great practice. For other students, maybe they're not going to be as verbal, but it's still great for them to understand those sound blending activities. We're going to jump into building words. So here we're going to go with pip again.
Ip.
And now we're going to, instead of one letter at a time,
Pip.
You're going to start to build the word
Ip.
itself.
Pip. Ip. Pip.
So you can see it just gets slightly more complex as you progress through the activities. And then we're going to get into some comprehension. You know, what can we recall from that story?
Who was in the story?
So if we pick the wrong answer,
Dad. The story didn't have Dad in it.
It just tells you, nope, that wasn't the correct one. There's no real negative response to it. But if we choose the right one, a nice little
Good job. The story had bat in it.
Confirmation that, yep, the story did have bat. And then you're going to get these 3 questions about the story itself. So that's all there for just that one book. And there are 4 books in each section. So you can continue to progress and grow, and hopefully, you know, it gives that child quite a bit to read and enjoy. And I hope this gives you guys a really nice overview of what you can do to get started in Look to Read. If you're interested in learning more about this, please go out to thinksmartbox.com and download the free trial version. Explore it a little bit on your own. There are additional resources that you can link to. If you have the full version, I believe you can get to the workbooks. I don't know if you have access to this in the trial version, but you would have access to the manual plus some more workbooks and things like that that you can utilize to further develop those reading skills. So if you have any questions, guys, please reach out to me, and have a great day.